Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our first Woman Takeover live on the Live to Roll channel. I'm so excited to be here with all these amazing ladies to talk about some amazing topics on being a woman with a disability. I'm so excited. We're going to introduce ourselves. I'll start first just with our name, our injury, and our injury level. If you want to just give a little background, that's fine too. My name is Brianna. I was injured 4 years ago. I was wrongfully shot when I was sitting in my car. A gun went off behind my seat, and the bullet lodged in my spine between T12, fracturing L1 through L5. So I'm just going to go in order. Next, Tammy, if you want to go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tammy. I am a C4-C5 quad. I was injured in a car accident when I was 17. A driver had cut off our car, which caused my driver to panic and swerve and hit an oncoming divider, and the car flipped, and it was heavily on my side, and I was caught under it.
What level are you? Did you say your level?
Yeah, I'm C4-C5, and it's been 12 years.
Yeah. And then let's go to Nicole and Ashley.
Hello, first. I'm Ashley. I'm a C4 quadriplegic car accident with my sister.
I'm Nicole. I'm a T6 paraplegic complete, and we were both in the same accident, twin sisters. Yeah, she said it.
Thank you. Okay, Erika.
Hello, I am Erika. I am T7. I was stabbed, and that's how I received my injury. And I am going to be 24 in a week.
Thank you. And Jessica.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jessica. I am a C7 incomplete. I was injured 10 years ago after falling asleep behind the wheel of my car. So it flipped and it fractured my C7.
Thank you. Whoa, I'm so excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about some subjects. So first, let's talk into gaining confidence, because that's always like the beginning of the roller coaster, you know. So I'll start off. For me, looking at myself inside of my chair in pictures was extremely difficult for me in the beginning. I remember even after I joined the community, I just would see pictures of myself and not see myself as beautiful. So it was like a personal journey where I had to look inside of the mirror and cry and learn to love myself again and learn how to take pictures again and do a photo shoot and just redo my beauty in my own eyes, you know. So that was definitely a journey for me, and I think the main thing that boosted my confidence is watching so many girls in the community do it too. They really showed me that I could, and it made me want to show other girls that I could too. So that was really where it started for me. So let's go to Tammy next.
The journey of gaining confidence for me, the first time I saw myself in the mirror in the rec room, I completely lost it. I mean, I was shattered and lost all hope. And I remember, I was in a halo, and after that, they put me on slings to work out my arms. And I was crying, and there was snot coming down my face, and I couldn't even like wipe my nose. And it was really painful. But what helped me boost my confidence over the years is just, I think it was more an internal thing, showing up for myself, you know, as hard and difficult as it was. And honestly, I feel like pain is what helped me gain my confidence, because it's just, I showed up for myself throughout the years. And yeah, I realized my capabilities.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Nicole and Ashley.
I think for like my journey of confidence, we're only like a year and a half out from our injury, but for me, I feel like I never really lost my confidence, but I've always just been a very confident person. I think Ashley's like been a little different.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely, I think, still a struggle to accept my confidence and stop being insecure about certain things, because I'm still a baddie. I just gotta make me believe it.
Yeah, and what made you start really believing that about yourself? What did social media play a part in it, or looking at pictures of yourself, or what changed that perception in your head?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is definitely a mindset. And then it's definitely been also seeing other people in the community like embrace it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Okay, let's go to Erika.
I think I would have to agree. I'm a very confident person as well. So when my injury happened, I really don't think it affected me that much. I don't think ever seeing myself in the chair I've been sad about it. If anything, I've always seen it as a chair, like that's the way I can get around. That's the way I can be part of everyone else, so that's fine. Like, I don't mind. Like, I still like to dress nice. I still do that's like the first thing I learned in the hospital, how to do my makeup and do my hair. I was like, I'm not living here without learning that, because that's what felt most like me and what gave me like confidence to get back out there. Like, okay, if people are gonna stare, I might as well look good while they stare. Like, so that's definitely how my take on confidence, and also just the community as well. I've found that the SCI girl community is way more uplifting and way more positive than normal girl community. So that, I think, is like a huge props to us. It's amazing. Just keep loving each other and keep bringing on the happy.
Yeah, I love that. That's something that I've always envied about you, because I remember you were like just out of the hospital and already posting like photo shoot pictures in your chair, and I was like, oh, she's working it, but it's the different journey for everyone. Definitely. I love that. Okay, let's go to Jessica.
For me, I think it didn't really stump my confidence too much either. I just took it as no one looks cute in a hospital gown. No one looks cute with all this stuff. But I just felt like it was just a moment. Like in my head, it was going to pass. I think little things like just, getting same thing, like cute outfits. I bought a bunch of workout clothes. If I was going to be in therapy, I was going to look cute. And just that pushing myself. To me, it wasn't like, being in the chair has never been like something ugly or unattractive. I like Erika said, I just feel like I'm sitting. That's it. Other than that, I don't really see all the other stuff. And I just felt like, well, I'm in a hospital, but this will pass, So I didn't really see it that way. And then being out in the community, I'm very self-centered, so I don't notice when people are looking at me. I've had people tell me, like my friends and like they get very bothered by it, but I've never I don't notice. And when I notice, I just smile, because I just feel like, I don't know, like I just feel like they're looking at me just because. I forget, like in my mind, I totally forget. So
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that so much. Confidence definitely plays a big part with the mindset. When you're telling yourself negative things, it really can lower your self-esteem so much. And you'd be surprised of when you tell yourself positive affirmations, and just even looking in the mirror like, I'm beautiful, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm gonna own this. That matters. It really does boost your self-esteem so much. I love that. Okay, let's go to bowels and bladder, which is, a self-esteem puncher for me. That was like so big on my confidence, especially in the beginning. I think it's because I was taught that it was something so personal. So now having just it, like I would have the bowel movements at the worst times, like just getting out of the car or right before an event, all of a sudden I have to change my entire outfit and I'm just crying because I'm just so frustrated, or my catheter comes undone, and or dealing with UTIs and having to go to the hospital was really, really hard for me. It's probably like one of the things that took me the longest to be okay with. I just remember breaking down multiple times because of it. And it wasn't until I gained that confidence and I just owned my disability and was like, other people have flaws and I have flaws too. And really trying to get it under control, focusing on not taking tips from the SCI community, like not using oil-based suppositories, or changing my catheter bag, or even getting introduced to D-monos, which really helps UTIs. All those things helped me along my journey so much and made it to the point where now I'm just so open about things, and it doesn't even bother me. It's definitely taken me time to get there, but now I just, I forget sometimes what it's like to be, self-conscious about those things, because I go to the hospital and I'm just like, okay, let's get this done, whoever needs to do it, and I'm just like open. And when other girls come and they have are hernia injured and they're very insecure about those things. You know, I love that I can be so open with them and really share these tips and tricks with them without feeling, you know, embarrassed about it. So yeah, that's what was really my journey with all that. So let's go to Tammy.
So bowels for me in the beginning I felt out of control. Just the inability to control my bowels and the schedule, because I was used to like the spontaneous, and whenever you felt like going, you did your duties. But now I have to do it around the schedule. And but now that I've gotten my life a little more like settled and I'm more accountable for my care, I can flip, bowels in the morning or at night. I just make sure I incorporate chia seeds, which really helps me with my bowels, or I eat kale. And yes, I don't use any oil-based suppositories either. I use water-based. And as for catheter care, I've been through like the whirlwind with my super period catheter, and I learned a lot. So I think that's why I'm a lot more open about my super period catheter. And I've accepted that everyone pees. Mine's just captured in a bag for everyone to see. It is what it is, and I actually take pride in being able to like hide my bag really well if I need it to. I have all the tips and tricks for the higher quads who have a suprapubic catheter. And and I think posting pictures with my pee hanging out and showing people how I empty my bag really helps me just, it's the fear doesn't feel as big as in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. I agree so much. Okay, let's go to Nicole and Ashley.
So I think at first for me, I felt like an animal. Like, I know it's a horrible way to put it, but that's how I felt. I felt like, and I felt violated. But at first, when you're in the hospital, everyone else is doing it for you. And I know it's like different for my sister because people still do it for her. But once I started doing the catheter by myself, my own bowel program, I don't know, it was complete. I started just like owning it. Even if I did have accidents, I was like, oh, I don't care because I could do all that by myself. But I don't know how that would feel for like, I always tell Ashley, I don't know how that would feel if you couldn't do it.
Yeah, Ashley, you want to share with us?
Yeah, I guess for me, or like I always tell you, Nick, I joke a lot. So for me, just making jokes about it, or our 5-minute rule that me and Nikki developed at the beginning of all this, we told ourselves 5 minutes to be mad at it, and then we're over it for the day.
And so I love that so much.
That was a big one.
Yeah, I think having a sense of humor in this is so important. Just not even just for bowels and bladder, just in general. Like you have to have a sense of humor. I agree so much. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Erika.
Yeah, I have to agree with everyone. Definitely bowel and bladder is like the thing I hate the most. And I just think it's so frustrating. Like this would take me 5 minutes before, and now I'm here sweating, my makeup's running, like to do this in the restaurant, trying to be fast so I can get back to my friends and family. Like, yeah, it's a hot mess. But I'm luckily I've never had a bowel movement on like accident. My body retains very well. I don't use catheters as well, so I think I got very lucky in that way. But yeah, for the most part, it's like you mentioned, 5 minutes you get, and then you're like, take a breather, like fix yourself, and like, okay, like I can do this, let's go, like, so I think that's very important to just be kind with yourself, but also to be like, you can do this, kind of little motivation.
I agree. Like adjusting to how long the catheter in the bowels take is adjustment too, because you have to plan it in your day. That was a huge adjustment for me. I was like, damn, this all takes too long. Like, why is it taking so long?
Or do you guys feel like control how much you eat too, like depending on the schedule? Like,
if I know I'm gonna have like a busy day or like I'm gonna be out a lot, I restrain from like coffees or diuretics.
Oh yeah,
accidentally constantly. So yeah, that, and I plan my days. Like if I know I have, for example, if I have work at 8, I'm up normally by like 5:36 just to look decent to make it on time. Not to like all this, just to like be able to make it on time. So definitely that is a big adjustment to time scheduling.
Yeah, I agree so much. I think it's like shoves it in our face, where we can't really deny our disability, right? And it's just and then we have that whole time where we're doing it to just think about it too. So I think that really affects it as well, you know. But yeah, let's go to Jessica.
So for me, I mean, I'm an incomplete injury, so I've been pretty lucky in a lot of things. So I have ADHD, so anything on a schedule is not something I can do or that my brain can process well. So I remember when they told me that I had to do a bowel program and that I had to be on a schedule, that I was like, I can't, like, I cannot, like, I hate schedules, I hate all of that. And so, but getting used to what was going to work for me, because I don't really adhere to what we were taught in the hospital. And I think a lot of us will learn what works for us. So probably like the first 2 years, my mom would help me cast. So she was with me everywhere. And I was so determined to learn to cast. Like I was like, I do not care. I don't want any surgeries. I'm not great at having to be still for that long. I don't do well with downtime. So I was like, surgeries are not for me. I don't want to have to heal. So I was determined, but I remember, yeah, getting really frustrated, crying. And I think the hardest part when you're a quad and trying to cast is really understanding the setup. Like, how am I going to set myself up? So that was a big thing when I was a peer mentor over at Rancho. So I worked with all the newly injured patients, and I would go into the restroom with the girls and I would say, this is how you're going to put your legs. This is how you're going to take off your clothes. This is how you change. Because I was like, if I went through that hell, I don't want you to go through it too. Because that was the most frustrating part. Like, I'm not the type that's going to cry or be sad, but when I get frustrated and mad, I do. And so like I would get so mad. And then for the bowels, it took me about a year and a half or two to like, no, probably 2.5 to cave and say that I needed help. And the only reason why what I would do is I can hold it, but then I would hold it too long and I'd get sick. I'd be constipated and then I couldn't go for days. And so same, meeting people in chairs really helped. Someone told me how they would do their bowel program, but it wasn't on a schedule. So I was like, okay, then I can do that. So I was like, as long as I don't have to have a schedule. So sometimes if I'm going to go on a trip and it's just like the weekend, I can skip a day. When I'm at home, again, ADHD will say, you have things to do, you have things to do. And I just will forget that I have to do that. So at 10 years in and I still have to be like, wait, you're supposed to go to the restroom. Like, and so I try never to skip a day if I'm at home. But yeah, I have to be mindful sometimes about what I eat. I have to make sure I'm getting enough greens, enough veggies. Because I used to have problems before my accident and then after. So it was just like pretty frustrating. Because like I said, I'm really bad with routine and schedules. So anytime that I have to do things like that, I have to be very mindful. And I really suck at that. So I've had to figure out what works for me.
Yeah, I agree so much. Diet is really important. I mean, if you want to get on a good routine and just not have accidents, you know, even monitoring like what you're drinking is important, I think, too. Really helps a lot. On the comments, Mickey said that black maca and root powder is great for sluggish bowels, and it's available on Amazon. And somebody asked, Jen asked about fiber. Do any of you guys take anything else besides, you said, chia seeds, right, Tammy?
Chia seeds, yeah. Seeds and kale. Or
Yeah,
I buy those power greens at Costco and I just blend it in the morning with a banana and a bunch of chia seeds, and I definitely empties me out.
yeah, I've noticed that if I'm really bad, because I do get backed up still, like in the summers, it's harder for me. And they say that in the summers, it's harder for your body to digest food because you're not absorbing as much water.
Yeah.
And my brother will make me like, he just throws a bunch of greens in a blender and I just drink it, and that seems to help. So I don't take anything extra. Again, I can't take extra things because I forget. So we just have to blend it for me. But another thing that really changed my life, because caffeine, I know everyone goes like every 3 to 4 hours or something, but I'm not on a schedule because I can feel when I have to pee. So I could drink something right now and not pee for 5 hours. I could drink nothing right now and pee in an hour. So one thing that did help me was Botox. So I don't know if anyone else does Botox, but that's really helped my bladder.
I haven't, but I heard that a lot of quads do say that it helps a lot. And you
Yeah.
just got it requested from your doctors, like through insurance?
Yeah, so my urologist, I heard the guys were doing it, and so I went to my urologist and I was like, this needs to stop, because I would cath every hour sometimes. So if you guys know the nightmare of cathing, it's every hour is insane. And it really has helped me. I go like 3 hours, 4 hours, but yeah, Botox has really changed for me.
And how long, can I ask you, Jessica, did it take you to get on that schedule where you didn't have to worry about it? Like how long until your body was adjusted to it?
To the Botox?
To like, to the Botox and to not having like to do it on a schedule, like your bowel care.
Well, my body, because I'm incomplete, I can feel. So basically I go when I need to go still. And for the bladder, that can be annoying because my urologist told me that even if I wanted to put my bladder on a schedule, it wouldn't. So I can feel when I have to go. And then of course I get autonomic, so I know for sure. And for the cathing, the only thing was that I have bladder spasms. So like my bladder's always spasming, and the Botox helped prolong it, because obviously if your bladder's constantly being pushed on, you're gonna have to pee.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I just think that this is so important, and I know that a lot of people struggle with it, so I just want to touch all the bases. Okay, let's go to our next topic, which is going to be relationships, dating, sex, that whole category right there. So for me, I was actually in a relationship when I got injured. We were together for a year before I got injured, and it was so hard for us. I remember crying in the hospital room and like telling him to leave. Like I just felt so bad, and he was 2 years younger than me too. So it was so hard for us. And I think that in the beginning also I was going through a lot of hate with my disability, and so I was angry a lot, and I wasn't confident. And he was doing everything for me. It was just me and him living together. So he was my main caretaker. And it was really difficult for us for like, I think it was like 2 years that we went through that. And then I decided to go over to my mom's house. I was like 6 hours away and like take a break because I was in a situation where I kind of felt like he was being obligated to be with me, and he was such a good person that he didn't know how to say that this isn't what he wanted, which is of course just like my mindset, right? My negative thoughts were just getting the best of me, and I was just going crazy because of it. And so we decided to do that, which was really hard for us. And I realized, whether it's him or somebody else trying to take care of me, that's hard. Like I need to learn how to communicate what I need, how I need it, and in a nice way too, so that was definitely so difficult for me. But we decided that, no matter everything that we're going through, that we'd rather go through it together. And I really needed to know that from him as well. Like he doesn't care about the bowels and bladder and all this taking care of, like he wants to tackle this together. And that was really big for me. So then going back into that relationship afterwards was 1,000 times different, because my confidence was up. He was no longer helping me do all these things. I made it a point to get dressed by myself. I made it a point to learn how to transfer by myself, which in the beginning, I wasn't trying to do none of that. Like I had just given up on life. And so it was really, really difficult for me, But yeah, I would say that really changed, because the first 2 years oh, don't even talk to me about sex. You better not even look at me about that. Like I am not even in the mood at all, which, or I was just so in my head where it wasn't comfortable for me. That's really what it was too. It took me to really be like, this is about me too. I need to be confident in my own skin. I need to be vocal about what I need and what I want. And it changed so much. So yeah, that's my journey along with that. So let's go to Tammy.
So for me, when I first started dating, I do say that I did it for all the wrong reasons. I was in my mid 20s, and I definitely was not confident in my own skin. And I think I was looking for someone to accept me and my chair. And I had a really difficult time with it. I didn't deal with rejection well, but I purposely forced myself to go through it so that I can kind of break and crumble and then pick myself up and see now in my 30s that it wasn't as bad or serious as I thought it was. I've gotten stood up. I've gotten rejected. The first time I got rejected, I cried to my sister and I asked her who would even want this, and eventually I did meet people, and I eventually was able to be intimate with someone. It was really scary because I was like, can I feel it? Can I not? I can't fully feel. Sorry, this is a little too detailed, but like 40 to 60%. And I have to take pain meds because I just AD like a mother, like it hurts. If all I would feel is this pounding headache if I did not take any pain meds. And yeah, and I don't know, it's just like, oh, I still got it,
Yeah.
But for any tips from me is just do it for the right reasons, just know that you have a choice in who you want to be and don't wait for someone to choose you or pick you. And it's okay to have those insecurities, but just embrace your feminine energy. And also my tips would be like, I pin dropped people and I was like, if I press number 7, call me because I need saving. Or like when I finally went to go hook up with someone, I was like, hey, he parks at my house and then he drives my van. I told my cousin, I was like, can you go outside, take a picture of his driver's license? License plate, because I'm not trying to get kidnapped, a way around things.
That's so funny. Which is like something that girls struggle with, even able-bodied girls,
And it's not.
That's all something to be mindful of, is like that whole confidence issue, dealing with dating, all that stuff is all things that everybody deals with. It's not just because our disability, but sometimes it's easy for us to feel that way in our head, to be like, oh, if I wasn't in this chair, then this would be going differently,
Yeah. And I just had to find a way around things because I wasn't going to lug guys home, I just wasn't comfortable yet. So I was just like, all right, let's book a room, and yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to Ashley and Nicole.
You go first. Well, for us, me personally, we're new, so I haven't really dated, but I have been on dating apps.
What's your experience like?
And that's actually where I got asked what's wrong with you. And I said, what's wrong with you?
Oh, I have a question. Do you have pictures in your chair on your dating app?
Yeah, I have one picture in my chair because that's like one picture I have in my chair. And the reason, and I'm also very honest on my dating app, like that I'm in a wheelchair. And I make jokes about it. I have like a little meme that says, are you going to leave me? And then I'm responding, no, I can't walk.
You're so funny.
So, but I haven't dated, but I'm open to it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Nick?
So for me, actually, when I got injured, not a lot of people know this because it didn't end up working out, but I was in a relationship. He didn't really come around when I was in the hospital. We actually never even officially ended anything. It kind of just ended. And it was, for me, I guess I never really even grieved that relationship because I was just going through so many things myself that I was not even paying attention to what was going on with that. But I have talked to people afterwards. I had a little fling for a little bit. But I really had no interest in dating, and I don't know if that's the injury. I don't know if that's just me personally right now. I've just been enjoying. There's also, the corona, the pandemic. So it's really hard to date. Like, guys have asked me out. Ashley made me download Hinge. I hate dating apps, but how else am I supposed to meet someone if I'm not going anywhere?
Like COVID.
So she made me download it, but it's literally so annoying. Like, I never used dating apps even before I was injured. So now it's just an adjustment because I don't really go anywhere. Before I used to be everywhere. So it's like, that's how I can meet people. But now I don't go anywhere like that. And there's the whole pandemic. How can you go anywhere? So it's like, I'm trying to adjust to the dating online, but people are weird online. So that's not even a paralyzed thing. That's just like being a girl who doesn't really like dating apps.
Yeah, I love that because that's so true. I agree so much. So yeah, let's go to Erika.
So for me, I guess the hardest part is just like putting yourself out there. But I think that's normal for anyone, like anyone that's getting back in the dating rhythm, like especially now how Nicole mentioned, like there's so much emphasis on social media now than there was before. So I think that's just because you technically get to judge someone before you get to meet them. And yeah, I think that's only a little bit difficult. But as far as that, yeah, I think dating is great. I'm dating now, which has honestly been a fun experience. It's also been all the emotions you can get, the scared emotions Tammy was talking about, where I literally said my friend my location. I'm like, this is where I'm going. 911, if I text you 911, come save me, Yeah, that's one thing that actually before I was maybe a little bit more wild and reckless when it came to my dates. I was a little bit up more for spontaneity, but now I'm like, wait, no, hold on. Like, I want to meet you there. I want to drive myself. Like, I don't know, not so much for getting picked up because I'm like, I can get kidnapped. I can't run away. Like, there's just like more fears that go to it. So I guess that for a good way, I'm not as wild as crazy and before, which I guess is good. But aside from that, I don't know. I just think it's fun. Like, have a good time with it. Like, don't overthink it. Like, I feel like sometimes we're our biggest enemies. Like, we're our biggest roadblocks. Like, so yeah, I always just think like, have a great time, have fun. And that also applies to sex. Like, just have fun. Like, you're going to relearn and learn what you do and you don't like. So I just think, like, just experiment, have a ball. Like, who cares,
I agree so much. And I would say about that, too, is girls, you need to make sure you're caring for yourself first. That's one of my biggest advice. Don't be so worried about what the guy is doing and what the guy is feeling because he has his own mindset. He'll be perfectly fine, I promise. Make sure that you're being vocal about what you want and what you need. And I think that will help so much. So yeah, let's go to Jessica.
Well, for me, okay, so when I first got injured, I kind of got back with an ex-boyfriend, and like I said, my confidence was never really blunted, and the reason we broke up was because he was really jealous, and so it was like a crazy 4 or 5 on and off years, and then 25 to 30, I just dated a lot. I've never done dating apps. I don't even know how they work. I have always been this person, so I'm a therapist, and I used to watch a lot of things where there's serial killers, and I'm like, I used to tell people I'm gonna get chopped up. I don't want to do that. But then I've dated a lot because I go out a lot, like bars, concerts. I think most of the people that I've dated since I got injured, they're friends of a friend. And I think, I still am really risky, and especially in my 20s, I just didn't care. And I am always about just having fun and taking off wherever. And I do remember one time I was at a club, and afterwards we met guys, and we went over to their house because they were having an after thing. And one of the guys carried me to the 3rd story. And the next day I told my friend, I'm like, girl, you were downstairs and my chair was on the 1st floor. He could have killed me. But it didn't hit me right away. It took me a while. But yeah, I've dated a lot. And a lot of times people will ask me, like, do you ask, is it okay for them to date you in a chair? Like, do they feel comfortable? But I've never approached a guy. So I always feel like they hit on me. If my disability was in the inside and they couldn't see it, then I'd ask the question. I'm like, but I'm sitting on wheels. Like, why would I ask that? Like, they're hitting on me, not the other way around, you know? I think once I've gotten more serious with guys or I'm dating them for a couple months, I think because they're guys and they're just like more, I mean, they're not great with hygiene the way we are. And like I've gotten drunk and found out the next day that the guy I was dating had to cast me, or like things like that. Like it's just, for me, I've noticed guys are less grossed out than we are. But I mean, it's happened where like after like, you know, I'm hanging out with them a lot and I'm with them a lot. And it's funny because like I'll have guys that are like, you know, there's still catheters in my car. Or and I'm like, oh, okay, well, you can keep them. We're done. But so for me, dating online, I'm older now and I've been working so much. Like I work Monday through Sunday. And with COVID, like I go out and it's not the same because I'm not at bars, clubs, concerts. Like I'm not at big events. So I go to dinner with my girls. Like it's not the same. So I don't get hit on like I usually do. And then, but I feel like dating apps are for introverts. You know, like I'm not great at texting. I'm not great at calling. I can go into any room and I'm gonna talk to everyone. So that's usually how I date. Either a friend of a friend, or you know, I went wine tasting. I met a guy there, dated him for a couple months, or I'm at a party at a bar, whatever, you know. And so for me, it's because I'm an extrovert. I'm just like that. I'm gonna talk to everyone. And like I said, a lot of times I forget I'm in the chair. I've had people tell me, like, you never talk about the chair. And I'm like, I forget. Like, wait, what do you want to know? I've had people say, okay, for last question. I'm like, go for it. I mean, but some people will say, like, you don't talk about it. So I thought you don't like talking. But I'm like, no, I forget. Like, for me, this is my life. But I get that for you, this is kind of new. So yeah, I think with dating, I think the tough parts are when you are intimate with someone and hanging out with them a lot and the caffeine comes up and stuff. But yeah, I think guys are kind of gross anyways. Like they don't care, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like we're insecure about it because we're supposed to be like sexy and all this stuff, you know, and we're just like, we do not see this as sexy, you know? Yeah. And it's just like abort, you know? But honestly, if you're confident with it, you'd be surprised about how many guys then are attracted to that confidence.
Yeah, and like I said, like one time I remember I had to cast and I was like, turn around. And he's like, I cast you yesterday. I was like, what? So
that is so funny.
I was like, that's horrible. And he's like, you're so dumb. He's like, it's funny. So
yeah, so talking about like dating and stuff, which actually comes the big question of devotees, you know, which is like, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I think so. Devotee is like,
I've heard it as devotee.
Devotee. Okay, well, whatever the name is for it, you know, there's this category of people that find a fetish with wheelchairs or with your paralysis and stuff, which when I found out about this when I was first injured, it blew my mind. I was like, what? What do you mean? You know, like my brain couldn't even wrap around it. And then I think because I saw my injury as such something that I wanted to disappear, I didn't like the fact of somebody fantasizing it over it. You know, like you're like making this like something that's so sexy, you know, which you're just like me. You only like me or you only want to message me because of my wheelchair, you know, which is so weird because we don't want people to see our wheelchair, you know. So I think that was big for me. I still deal with them daily, messaging me or commenting on my stuff and just like really like blowing it up because and telling me the weirdest things. I've even had people tell me a complete story about them getting paralyzed and trying to get me to send them videos of me exercising. And when I'm like, no, I don't think that I would help you because of your level. You might want to look at some other girls. One of my friends, Steph, sent me the screenshot of them completely changing their story and completely changing their name and their picture to like fit what they wanted to tell her. And I was like, whoa, it really made me look at the world a little different because, of course, I want to, help everybody. If somebody messaged me that they need help and that they're paralyzed, I want to help them, But then having to be like scared about who I'm messaging or if they're telling me the truth, it sucks so much for me. It still affects me. I have a hard time that there's people in this world that are so comfortable doing it, and like I've even had them like message my mom. They've even like added my mom and like started messaging her and like all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And like she's just like, this guy won't stop telling me to have a beautiful day and asking me all these questions. And I'm like, stop replying. But she just wasn't as aware as me. So that's definitely been a journey. And I tell all the girls, especially newly injured, to be careful because social media, there's a lot of positives, but there's also a negative side too. So make sure you're staying safe, definitely. So yeah, that's
so selective with who I message. Like before I started talking to you, Brianna, I was like so hesitant with people because me and Ashley had someone right when we were injured, like right away was messaging both of us, and we were like, that's weird. Like if someone's gonna hit on both of us, we're sisters clearly. So we already thought it was weird. It was already a red flag, and then we realized that devotees that was like a month in, 2 months in. We already had our experience, and then I was like, I'm not messaging people. Like it took me a while to start actually talking to people, but I always need like a resource. Where's the plug? How do you know who?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And if you don't know, like if you don't see a video or hear anybody talking about it, like you don't know that it's a thing, and like especially when you're newly injured, like they prey on you, it's crazy. It really is crazy. So yeah, Tammy, you want to go?
My first experience with devotees, I was a little naive. I didn't want to reject people because I thought they needed my help. And this one dude was, in his very broken English, was telling me about how he was a therapist and eventually he led his client to have sex. In my mind, I'm like, isn't that kind of illegal? And then, but I'd stop humoring him, and he started to cuss at me, and I was like, okay, you're weird. And but eventually he started to stalk me on all of my social media, like my lookbook, YouTube, Instagram. And he's annoying. He's like, can you do a Bowel program video? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a Bowel program, a Bowel video, you weirdo. And yeah, sorry. It just gets me really heated when I talk about these people.
Yeah.
And he makes fake accounts to follow me on Instagram constantly. So I have to filter out my list. I don't follow back, or I even block people, even if they don't have an icon picture and they follow a bunch of people and they have 0 followers and like barely any pictures. I just block them. And, I have an apparel line and I have to mail stuff out from my sister's address because she lives in a gated community and I just don't feel comfortable with people knowing my address. So, and I don't post unless I'm gone from that area. And I just have to be a little more mindful.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's so hard because it's just like you want to just be able to live your life, and not worry about somebody like praying over you, so I know this topic gets on a lot of girls and, because it's like, what do you mean? It's like disbelief that this is even happening,
Has anyone had like an experience in person with the devotee? Or is it all online for most of us?
It's all online.
Okay.
I wish I could.
It's all online, but honestly, I don't know if I would be able to recognize the same signs because sometimes like I'm at events and people are just friendly and I'm friendly as well, so it's just like, oh, it's a normal conversation, not knowing that who knows what's going through their mind, so I don't know, which is kind of scary, like looking for predators at like the park,
Yeah.
It would be
I thought Tammy had situation because she had said something like, I don't post. So I was like, has she had experience with someone in person?
Oh no, people are just once they're so like determined to stalk you,
Yeah.
like they kind of follow your tracks. And so, with this day and age, we tend to just tag and post immediately when we're somewhere with our friends or whatever. I don't post until I'm gone and far from that place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go to Erika.
Yeah, I did not know they existed. But I'm very like friendly in person, and I'm very girl friendly. When I get DMs from guys, honestly, I don't read them. I don't even look at them, especially if they don't have a picture. And then if they have like a girl name and they don't have a picture, I'm like, sorry, I can't prove you're a girl. Like, sorry. Like, I don't know. I just think that's really creepy. And then I also think like, what is the benefit of me talking to someone that won't relate to me in that way? You know what I mean? So I think like when people message me and they have spinal cord injuries, I'm like, wait until maybe a week or a couple days go by if they have no picture or anything, and then if they like re-message like, hey, good morning, like I'm like, okay, you're not real, like, so I kind of do that now. I kind of screen them out that way. So yeah, it's like you have to have a picture, like your profile, you have to be on it for a while at least, like I can see, or it just, you just have to like look real for me to be like, okay, let me see.
Yeah, definitely. Chelsea and Steph from the Rolettes, they really help me realize that I have to screen people. Like if there's no post, or just be aware of those signs of double messaging, of making sure like, are people even commenting on their picture that they did post, like you have to be very skeptical. And it sucks to say because you want to be open, and you want to believe everybody's a good person, but that's just not the truth, so definitely protect yourself. Yeah. So yeah, let's go to Jessica.
So for me, I've had the same experience, right, where they find you on Instagram. I've only had one where he created multiple accounts. He even created the one where he was a girl in a wheelchair and had pictures. And I just report him a lot. I do own my own business, so now if you Google me, you can find like where my office is and stuff. So I'm like, shit, like that does worry me. But then I've had some that reach out to me and they're very honest and they're like, hey, I have this fetish. And so I've had full on conversations with them and they kind of like will poke at you and say, well, are you not comfortable being in a chair? Like, are you not okay with it? Like, do you hate yourself? And I'm just like, no, it's just you're interested in my chair, not me. Like, leave me alone, And being the therapist, I'll be analyzing, but I do know girls in chairs that date them, so I can't 100% bash on them because I mean, if you're a girl who is okay dating them, then I mean, to everyone to each their own. I have met women that date them, and they like it because they feel like, well, this person completely accepts me for who I am, and I just feel the opposite. I feel like you don't accept me at all for who I am. It's the chair, like it has nothing to do with me, So yeah, same thing with guys adding me. My page is private, so when guys add me, if they don't have pictures, if I don't know them through someone, if there's no like, they're only following all girls, and you can tell some of them are only following girls in chairs or girls with disabilities. Like no, so I do screen as well.
Yeah, that's so true. And now that you say this, I have met somebody who said that they don't care about them neither. She was like, I like the ones who send me money.
No, I've had so many people in my DMs trying to send me money. Like if I drop my cash,
I told her to do it because we need some.
I think it's a personal thing.
But it's over. And then I had a guy pretend actually to be like a quad.
Yeah,
his family ended up like on his actual page, like exposing him or whatever, and I was like, that was crazy. And he would ask creepy questions, but thankfully I was smart enough to never answer them. And I would just like turn the conversation to like, oh, like what's your hobby?
Yeah, it's definitely a personal thing, I've heard both sides of the story, but just I talk more negatively about them because it was hard for me to even believe in the beginning, and it was just hard for me to accept. My disability was a hard thing for me to accept, and I just couldn't imagine like somebody faking or somebody not caring about it or somebody just sexualizing me because of my wheelchair. It just didn't make sense to me.
You know, when
the fetishes out there, so
when I first heard about it, you know, I used to weigh like before my accident, way before I weighed like 300 pounds. So I always thought, you know, I was like, it's like guys that like big girls, you know, like what am I to say anything? But when you like really listen to the stuff they're into, it's nothing like that. Like it's not like you have this quality and I kind of like it. Like no, like they just like the disability, and I think that for me, I'm like no, like I'm not my disability. It's a part of me that I'm.
Yeah, I agree so much.
Yeah, they like to see you struggle or transfer, like weird stuff like that. Like, okay, that's just me moving.
Yes. That's exactly my mindset is like, how are you going to be sitting there with me like with hard eyes when I'm over here struggling to transfer? Like, what the hell, you know, like it just doesn't make sense. Like what, you know? So yeah, that's my take on it. Okay. Yeah. So let's go to a different topic because we only have a little bit more longer. Let's go to pet peeves. What bothers you the most that other people say or do, or what bothers you the most about having a disability in general? For me, I would say what really bothers me is when people try to pray for me, or if they tell me if I pray harder, or if I believe more in God, or anything regarding religious, you know. I'm of course not rude. If somebody comes up and asks me if they could pray for me, I say okay, because I mean, I have a lot of struggles. I need prayers, all the prayers I can get, you know? I don't really look at it as because of my disability, but that's just a choice. But that was a hard thing for me to accept because I had a not a falling out, but almost like a falling out with God, you know, where I was angry about my injury. So for you to come up and tell me that I just need to pray harder, you know, or believe more in God, or, you know, go to church more, like that hurt my soul. It hurt my heart. Like, did I really do something wrong to deserve this? Like, is God really mad at me? You know, like those thoughts went through my head in the beginning, and it was really hard for me. And I don't want to think about those things. So of course, when I'm out in public and that's the first thing that people think about to tell me, it affected me. I almost like broke down in the store crying because I was just like, you know, is God mad at me? You know, I remember really feeling like that. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves, definitely. Let's go to Tammy.
Mine are like my boundaries and privacy. I don't, something as simple as, because I'm interdependent on, you know, others for my care. They kind of forget that I like my privacy, so they come barging in my room. You know, I get really crazy when people don't shut my door when they leave. And just when I was pushing at the mall, bless his heart, this old man thought I was struggling, but it was the carpet area, so he just full on like started pushing me, which almost threw me out of the chair. And when people jump in to help me without me like asking, because sometimes I struggle, but let me struggle. That's how I figure it out, you know? And yeah, those are some of the things that bother me.
Yeah, definitely. Check. All those bother me too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Nicole and Ashley.
I think for me, the bother is the stares. So we're not only paralyzed, but we're twin sisters. So when we're out and about, we look like each other. Clearly, we get it. You're going to stare. We're beautiful. Thank you. But people will stare even harder. Because they'll like, I hold on to her. She has a power chair. I have a manual. So like, you know, save some energy. I hold on to her. People will stare. I caught people taking videos. I'm like, okay, it's not that cool. We're literally just rolling around. We used to walk around the same neighborhood. We're just rolling now. Why are you staring? And that's like really annoying. Like they're fascinated. I'd rather people just ask. Like we've had people actually come up to us like, oh, you twins? You're sisters? Why are you both like that? Like stupid questions. And that doesn't bother me as much because I get it. I tell Ashley that, like, I get it. We're twin sisters in the same situation. So it's interesting. Like, you wonder what happened. We've lived in the same neighborhood our whole life. So we see people who knew us, like, when we were younger. So they're going to ask questions. That doesn't bother me as much. But it's the stares, like, and the praying. What, like you said, Brianna?
Yeah.
I hate the praying.
For me, it's definitely, I would kind of, like, agree with, like, Tammy.
people like not respecting my boundaries. Just because I need your help doesn't mean you can just like if I'm alone, you can just barge in on me being alone.
Yeah.
That's like one of my biggest pet peeves. And so I just like when Tammy said that, I was like, yes.
Yeah, definitely. I agree so much. Okay, let's go to Erika.
My biggest pet peeve, and I say this a lot, is I hate when I meet someone and they're like, "Oh, cool, your name's Erika. Okay, cool. So what happened to you?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh! Like I couldn't even get another sentence in. You can't even at least tell me like you like your hair looks nice. Like no, it's just straight there." And I think the thing that bugs me about it the most is like I would never ask that. Like my whole family, like we would never ask anyone in their invasion of privacy. Like that's such a personal question. Like that brings up trauma. Like I'm not over here asking you why you're ugly or what your medical record is or when the last time you went to your doctor. Like, dude, I'm not doing that. So like, take it down a notch. Like, no, act a little civilized. Like, you know. So yeah, definitely that's like my yes. Top
When
pet
we
peeve.
were speaking and we said we had the pet peeves, but there's also perks to being in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Parking. I call it princess parking.
we were talking about perks, and I always joke like when I'm with my cousins, they're like, "Dude, we didn't get VIP today." Like if they're not with me, because they're like, when we're with you, dude, everyone's like, "Oh, let me get the door," or like we get parking in the front, or like just little perks or whatever. So we always joke, and we're like, "Oh, VIP, like you have to throw in the good, with the bad." So
They usually seat
that's
you first at restaurants, which is nice.
yeah. I'm like, let me get the spacious table. Thank you. Yeah, that and also just like when like now that I'm driving, I've experienced something new that before I didn't know was a pet peeve, but I found a new one. So when I'm like getting my chair in my car, like obviously I'm still struggling, but it's like kind of has to do with the boundary thing. Like, I can do it. Like people will pass by all the time, be like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, I got it. Thank you. And like, that's not what bugs me. What irks me is they just stand there and watch. Like, okay, at least make converse. Like, at least ask me if that's okay. Like, at least ask me. Like, let me know. Like, I want to learn, or is there some way I can help, or like just be vocal about it. But you hovering over me, just like, and then I'm nervous and I start spasming, and then I'm like, oh my god, I have to do it faster so I can leave because now I feel like scared. And then I was mentioning this actually recently. When the few times that I feel like, oh my God, okay, fine, just help me. But it's like, you're not helping me because you're probably throwing my chair in a way that I'm not going to be able to get it out afterwards. Or that leads into like basically me having to wait until you feel you're done with our conversation. I hardly ever let people help me for that reason. And the few times that I've let help, they're just like, standing by my window, like I'm like, no, dude, just like throw it in. Like we're not having a 20-minute conversation. Like just like throw it in and feel good about yourself and feel like you did an act of kindness and go about your day. Like, yeah, so definitely that's like a new pet peeve. So for people out there, like help me. And if I say I don't need help, please just walk away. Continue about your day. Don't stare at me, or at least ask me like, is there something I can learn about this? Or is there something like I'm fine. I'm an open book. Like I'll teach you right away, but just don't stare. It makes me uncomfortable and I get nervous.
I agree. It's like those hard stares, like some people going to the store was hard for me because I could just like feel everybody staring at me. But it's like now I don't care about those little stares, it's more about when somebody is just like a straight face, just glaring at you, and it's just like, hello, can you not, like I'm trying to live my life here, and it's just like, it's a different vibe, definitely, it's like, I'm not just saying like, oh, nobody can stare at me, it's not that, it's like, don't glare over me, have some respect, I'm not just glaring at you, So yeah, definitely. Okay, Jessica, what about you?
I think my biggest one is just like people doing things like grabbing my chair. I think when you're a quad specifically, like we lose our balance. Like if you touch my chair, I'm gonna lose my balance. When I was younger, I didn't really care. Like I would go down a hill with my hands in the air and it wouldn't bother me. But I don't know, as I get older, I'm just like, I need that control. Like I feel like don't touch me unless I've allowed it. Like I don't like people touching me in general. Like, I'm not a hugger. I'm just not that type of person. And I guess as I get older, like I just feel like the chair is a part of me, so don't touch me. Like unless I need the help, ask. I love when people ask so I can say no. But don't just grab my chair. Like I think that's really a pet peeve. Everything else you guys said, I think it's all annoying. But for the most part, that's my pet peeve. Just that whole thing. I think when people stare at me in the car or when they want to help me, I generally say, I would love you to help me, but you don't know what to do, so go away, And
Yeah.
I've told them, like, you're just going to make my life harder because then I have to teach you, so no. And usually they laugh and they're like, you're right, we're sorry. Let me just walk away. But yeah, I think that's mine. Just don't touch me. Mm-hmm. We're good.
Yeah, basically, I think also a lot of these, I like had to realize that it may not even be so much the people, like they like do not know, like society was not taught how to deal with disabled people, so they don't know like almost like right from wrong when dealing with people. Like that's why I think it's so important to like be vocal about like next time you come across somebody who's disabled, like don't be so quick to grab their chair because you might hurt them or throw them off their balance, or just inform them a little bit. Even when people ask me like, when did you get injured, I'm pretty open about it, so I'll share with them. But then I'm like, some people are dealing with trauma, so the next time you come across somebody with a disability, don't be so the first thing that you say out of your mouth is what's wrong with you or asking them about the disability, because a lot of people do get offended by that, or it's just not polite. I don't think it's polite at all, So I've had multiple conversations like in the doctors like that and like at the stores and stuff like that. So just being like respectful to teach them as well, not being so quick to just get irritated and just write them off, as people, just in general, like for people listening, I think that that's something to keep in mind. So yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it also depends on our mood, my son, I have a child, guys, and he was 8 or 9 one day, and someone was like, what happened to your mom? And he's like, she broke her leg. And then another day someone asked him, he's like, look, the spinal cord works like this. Like, I'm like, Michael. And he's like, I don't always feel like educating people. And I was like, okay. Like,
I love that.
Sometimes I'm not in the mood. I just broke my leg. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I feel that so much because sometimes people, like, I'll tell people, don't be so open. Like, you could say anything, One of my other friends who were shot, I told her, you don't have to share your whole story with every single person that comes up to you. You could say that you got into a car accident, and they'll never know. I know, Erika, you go through this as well, like, just, like, you don't have to be so open because, honestly, they're going to go about their life and you're going to go about yours, So don't let it ruin your day, Like, if I'm not trying to get in headspace, like, I got injured. I can't walk. Like, what?
I was just going to comment on that because, yes, like Brianna said, I lie a lot. Because if I'm getting my petties done for the first time and homeboy doing my toes is going to be like, oh, what happened to you? And I'm never going to see him again. I'm not going to be honest. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I had an accident. And then whatever story that comes into his head that he's like, oh, did you fall? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, or he's like, did you get an accident? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, so I lie all the time because I feel like, dude, I'm never going to see you again. It's irrelevant. Most of the time, I feel like people just want to know for their own validity and for their own, like, fulfillment of entitlement. But I don't think by me telling you my story is going to have a meaningful conversation. I won't share my story because I feel like I'm just trying to get apples at the market and you're just being nosy. So unless I'm going to see that person again, or unless I feel a genuine, like, concern, or sometimes I've had people come up to me like, oh yeah, like my cousin is in a wheelchair or whatever, like, oh, okay, like you want to know because you really want to know, like, yeah, then I'll share my story and I'll sit down and I'll answer any question you have. Like, I really am an open book. But if I feel like it's just because you're so desirous to know and it has nothing to inform you about, then yeah, I'll lie all the time. I lie all the time. So I've had multiple injuries, guys.
It's none of their business, and it's also like I'm not asking you your whole life story. So in this, like, clearly you see the chair, so it's something. So why would I want to, like, explain all of that to you?
Yeah, the
It's like,
funniest
why are you asking
is
such a
when
personal
someone
question?
asks yeah, the funniest is when someone asks me like, "Oh, what happened to you?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I had an accident." I'm like, "Oh, so what happened to you?" I'll be like, "Oh, when did you go see your doctor last?" And they're like, "What? Why?" And I'm like, "Well, you just asked me my medical information, so I want to know yours. Like, if I'm having a bad day and I'm in a bad mood, like I could give an
Yeah.
attitude, and
It's
they'll
just
just be
our
so
mood.
perplexed. They're just so perplexed and offended that I'm like, you literally just asked me like the most medical question you could have asked me. And all I asked you was like, when's the last time you went to the doctors? And they're like, what? Oh my God. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's literally, we're doing the same thing. So please don't do that again. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree so much. That's so funny. So did any of you guys get any questions that we didn't answer yet or that you guys want to ask? I feel like we touched on a lot.
Yeah.
No?
I guess.
Share with you guys like a really embarrassing and funny story.
Yeah.
I was on a party bus once, and you can't bring your chair on the party bus, so I had to get carried on there. So I was wearing a dress, and I'm outside of my chair. My legs are crossed, and this guy comes on the bus. Everyone was off the bus, and this guy comes on. I later learned that he was on drugs, so he wasn't in the right frame of mind. But he was like, "Damn, girl," he pulls my arm, and then I was like, "No, and like when I get scared as a quad, my voice cuts out. So I'm like, "I'm paralyzed," and I tip over and I fall. And he was like, "What the fuck?" He just like, sorry, excuse my language. And he just like backs up and like leaves me there, and I'm slumped over. And my caregiver comes back on, and she's like, "What happened? Like, why?" And I was hysterically crying, and it was so embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I can't imagine. That's so crazy. It's like people don't even have in their head that this is a thing, which, like that's what I say again, like I can't fault them because honestly, I never thought about being paralyzed before I was. Like I never thought about what people went through, or I never thought about me staring at them weird. I never thought about any of that. Like I don't know if I did or not. I would hope not, but honestly, it's not even in my head. Like I don't even remember anything about it. So you'd be surprised about what people do, and so crazy. And it's a mean world. So, you have to be just have a sense of humor, and like not be so in your head. Know that you're worthy, know that you're important. And that's what matters most, So, yeah. Anybody else? You have something, Jessica?
No, I was just going to say that whenever I work with a newly injured patient, I have friends that, being in a chair, I've made friends with all types of disabilities. And I always feel like my friends that were born disabled, they can't look back and remember seeing someone in a chair, right? And so when I'm working with a newly injured patient, that's what I always remind them, like, what did you think of that person when you saw them, right? And it's luckily, I feel like because I've had the experience of being able-bodied, I don't judge able-bodied people so much for their ignorance, because when I woke up that day after my accident, if you were to ask me if I knew everything that was about to happen, I had no clue because I don't know anything about disabilities,
Yeah.
So I'm pretty forgiving because the same thing. I've been told like, what's wrong with you? And I'm drunk and I turn around, I'm like, what's wrong with you? And then we start laughing, me and my friends, and they think I'm faking, and I've gotten all types of things. And then I just laugh more, and they're like, that's really messed up. You shouldn't act like that. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's so funny. Own your space, and yeah, I love that so much. So yeah, this has been a great conversation. We're a little bit over time, but that's okay. Some of us have to get going. So I'm so excited that I got to do this. I'm super happy about it. I feel like we touched on a ton of things, and I love it so much.
I feel like we need a part 2. No.
Yeah, we need a part 2, Sean. No, and yeah, make sure that you guys like and subscribe and keep tuned because they do some amazing videos on this channel. They're so open and they do tons of topics. So check out any old videos and make sure you stay tuned for any new ones. I just want to make sure that we all give out our Instagram handles again. I believe they're all in the description, but just so it's out loud. Mine is brianna.rolls.on. You can message me about anything that we talked about or any questions at all. I'm an open book and I love meeting new people and I love helping them along their journey. So yeah. Tammy?
Mine is resilient.com. There's 2 M's in com. And, my page caters to mainly like quads and anything regarding active health and just how to hack your life, like how to tape your pee bag or something.
Love it. Okay, Ashley and Nikki.
My Instagram is Nicole Collette. That's 2 L's, 2 T's, 3. And I'm pretty much an open book on there. I do a lot of my Instagram. It's really no theme. Just me being me.
And then mine is Ashley Loren 16. I'm a writer. I write, occasionally post pictures. My stories are lit.
And then we have our joint Instagram, which is Ashley Nikki Story. That's just for our family and friends to watch a recovery, but it's become a bunch of random people, so feel free to follow that one too.
Yes, love it. Okay, let's go to Erika.
So just Insta XOXO period RIKKA. Same, message me about anything that you heard of today, anything that you want to know. Basically, open book, super social. Don't be a creep. If you're a creep, I won't reply. But if you're a normal human being with real questions and real comments, yeah, I'll be sure to reply.
Yeah, and Jessica.
Mine is takecontroltherapy.com. I'm a therapist, so on that page, I mostly just do mental health stuff, just awareness, education, and some tips. So follow me, DM me if you have any questions. Same thing, I used to be a mentor, and all I did was share my stories. So if anyone has questions.
Yeah, love it. Of course. So reach out to any of us. I appreciate you guys tuning in. All your guys' comments. I appreciate it so much. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everyone. Nice to meet you all, girls.